Earlier this month, I was invited to a party at the Persian Terrace at the Hotel Syracuse. Magic Toy Shop's cast members, families, children, now adults, who had played special roles on the program. It was extremely appropriate that Eddie Flumnum and the Play Lady revive an all-time toy shop favorite, the Hokey Pokey. Well, it seemed as if we turned back the clock until we realized that some of those dancers were grandchildren of cast members, and that youngsters who had helped share adventures on the Abracadabra book were reliving that time with their children. And there were pictures. Cast members picked out favorite moments, and then I suddenly realized that we could recreate the past only in pictures, still pictures, because the show was live. We searched our archives and found one treasure, a videotape made in 1964. Gordon Alderman, who was then program director and who had been the driving force in moving the dream to reality, explained the concept to people who had never seen the program.
And in all those years, we've missed only 4 programs on the air. 1 on a dark day this past November, 2 for the coverage of space flights, and 1 on the day when Mr. Khrushchev arrived at the UN, and that was somewhat symbolic because Mr. Khrushchev's world is somewhat at odds with the world of the Magic Toy Shop. Well, let's turn on a smile, come on inside, and let us show you what we mean. This is the Magic Toy Shop. Magic because the toys come to life at night through their leader, Floogie, there at the right of the counter, who's the general of all the toys. And they report the very next day to Merrily, the pretty proprietress of the Magic Toy Shop, who is in charge of all toys and activities, with help from her nearest and dearest friend, Eddie Flumnum. Eddie has been described by one child as my dearest play friend, and maybe that's the best definition of all. You'll note that Eddie Flumnum is a sailor, and that's because at one time he did serve on a showboat. But most important of all, Eddie Flumnum is an artist. Eddie Flumnum draws stories, too. These weird shapes do, one by one, actually turn into a story. There are hundreds of such stories in the Magic Toy Shop library, all told by Mr. Trolley, who is the world's finest storyteller, and he may well be, as Merrily and Eddie Flumnum claim, the best storyteller in the world and in outer space. Mr. Trolley also brings them news of the world beyond the Magic Toy Shop, and very special requests sometimes from his passengers. The music for all of these stories is provided by Twinkle at the magic piano. Twinkle is a clown, a cousin of every clown in the world, and Twinkle talks only in music. Here, let me show you. Good morning, Twinkle. Oh, Twinkle said, good morning, good morning. Twinkle, is it true that you talk only in music? He said, that's absolutely positively right. You see, he's very easy to understand.
Well, I certainly learned some things. I'd forgotten, for instance, that the toys came to life at night.
That's why Tommy Pupdog is always tired. He teaches dancing at night.
Ah, I did not know that. This is Jean Daugherty. She knows all there is to know because she wrote every one of the scripts. Did the program change over the years? I suppose it did.
It did, Ron, because as technology changed, we could do more and more things. But the concept never changed. We were interested in the child and the adult that child would become. And we were interested in having them take their childhood with them as they became adults. And there's something else that didn't change at all. The opening was always the same.
When Merrily asked children to turn on smiles, she was asking for a commitment. Viewers didn't just watch, they shared the joys, and in this case, the work. It was Thursday, cleanup day. Thursdays were always cleanup day. This year, in honor of the 25th anniversary of the Festival of Nations, we welcomed visitors at a Magic Toy Shop booth. It was wonderful to watch adults become children again. As they viewed this black and white tape, it was interesting to watch the reaction of their children. They gave a stamp of approval, and we did something else. We allowed those old friends to select a favorite song to share at this reunion. This is the top vote getter.
Ladies and gentlemen, and puppy dogs, too. We do hope that you'll join Merrily, Eddie Flumnum, and yours truly at the Teddy Bear's Picnic.
Go down in the woods today, you'd better not go alone. It's lovely down in the woods today, but they were today at home.
For every bear that ever there was,
today you're in for a big surprise. If you go down to the woods today, you'd better go in disguise. For every bear that ever there was will gather there for certain, because today's the day the teddy bears have their picnic.
Picnic time for teddy bears. The little teddy bears are having a lovely time today. Watch them, catch them on the way, and see them picnic on their holiday. See them gaily get about. They love to play and shout, they never have any care. At 6 o'clock their mommies and daddies will take them home to bed, because they're tired little teddy bears.
6 o'clock, their mummies and daddies will take them home to bed, because they're tired little teddy, tired little teddy, tired little teddy bears.
Well, I've been looking at a lot of tapes. That introduction of Mr. Trolley, ladies and gentlemen and puppy dogs, that became kind of a catchphrase, didn't it?
It did.
Why?
Well, we used to get fan letters from dogs.
Ah.
Now, we never got a fan letter from a cat. Now, either those cats didn't watch or they couldn't write letters. So we started saying ladies and gentlemen and puppy dogs, too, and it caught on with the kids, too.
Those clever canines,
Yeah.
right? Well, I'll use Mr. Trolley's words. Ladies and gentlemen and puppy dogs, too, we'll be back with little-known facts about the very well-known program. I am rereading that trivia question. Eddie's last name is Numb, and Flum is his middle name, right?
That's right. Flum is his middle name.
Okay.
You want me to
I didn't know
explain?
that either.
Well, his parents were way ahead of George Foreman. They named all their sons Eddie. They had 7 sons. And Eddie was the first name, and they all had different middle names. Eddie Crumnum, like peanut butter crackers, and he always had crumbs in his pocket. Eddie Humnum liked to sing. Eddie Sumnum was good at arithmetic. Eddie Drumnum was a percussionist. Eddie Tumnum liked to eat. And Eddie Mumnum was a very good secret keeper. And then there was Eddie Flumnum. And flum is a word that means very good. And Eddie was a very good artist.
Well, of course, that really is true, because Eddie, Socrates Sampson, really is a very fine artist, and he was our station artist for many years. He designed all of the sets, created all the backgrounds, and he became part of a dynamic duo, if you will, with Mr. Trolley, and that Mr. Trolley character turned out to be the key to the magic key, as it were, right?
That's true, because our general manager, Paula Donde, said, we're going to have a children's program. And he had only one request. Well, Ron, you knew him. It was more than a request.
Yes.
He wanted a trolley car. And that's what we had to do.
And, of course, at the party, I talked to Socrates Sampson and Lou O'Donnell, who was Mr. Trolley, about that. No, he wanted a trolley car.
Right.
Did you know that?
I knew that. I had no idea why, and nobody ever got an answer from him why he wanted a trolley car.
Well, in other words, if he hadn't liked the trolley car, there may not have been a magic toy shop at all, right?
Well, I hadn't thought of it that way, but gee, that's probably true.
Well, I was wondering kind of how I was going to build it, because
That's right.
I don't know how many of them I built.
I don't know, but
They kept falling apart.
I wore a lot of them, I know that.
I thought he was going to get electrocuted once.
Do you know that with the original trolley head, it was plugged into the wall, and every time I wanted to light my nose, I'd have to...
I made it out of metal.
And every time I lit my nose, I'd get a shock. And that went on for a long time.
Well, they insulated your nose. They got away from that.
That's true. You put a little transformer in the line, too, somewhere.
Listen,
Somebody.
I don't know anything about electronics. That was all left to the engineers.
Okay.
Speaking of that, though, Lou, how did you really create the character of with the voice and the eye contact and
I honestly don't know, Ron. It just seemed like it just kind of happened. They said be a trolley car, and I said okay, I'll be a trolley car. And trolley cars must look like this. I don't know. It just happened. Of course, the only way I could communicate really was with my eyes. And the words weren't the important part.
Well, Sock, you mentioned that you built the the trolley.
Where else would you go? Nobody else had ever built a trolley head in the past. So we just kept building until they stopped electrocuting Lou.
Well, there were two lucky things I learned in the interview. Number one, Mr. Trolley did not get electrocuted. And number two, Paula Dante liked the concept. And that's very fortunate indeed.
He did like the concept. As a matter of fact, they were in the pilot program, and then they became a part of a summer show that we had called Tip Top Showboat. That's when they made their debut. And when they finally became part of Magic Toy Shop, they were great favorites, and it's easy to see why.
'Cause you're so much a part of me, a part of me, you're part of me. So deep within the heart of me, the two of us are one. When you go riding on a horse,
I just can't sit down. And when you're on the Ferris wheel, my head spins round and round. You're so much part of me, part of me, part of me. So within the heart of me, the two of us are one. And the two of us are one.
No wonder we called them a dynamic duo. And if there was anything they liked better than singing together, it was sharing a story.
Once upon a time, that's the way all good stories begin, there was a seal named Flippy. Well, that wasn't his real name. His real name was Johann Sebastian Seal, but everybody called him Flippy. And this was a most unusual seal. All of his other friends liked to swim and go fishing and play ball on the icebergs. But not Flippy. Flippy didn't like to do anything but sing. He sang from morning till late at night. And all of the other seals would look at him and shake their heads and say,
That one will certainly never amount to anything. Who ever heard of a singing seal?
But Flippy didn't pay the slightest bit of attention. He just went on singing and singing. And he'd even make up tunes himself. And some very unusual tunes they were. The one that he sang most often was called the North Pole Polka, but the other seals just called it Flippy's Tune.
The stories were written especially for the Magic Toy Shop. Eddie Flumnum developed the technique. Children watched the drawings come to life. Twinkle, Tony Riposo, created background music. Instant composition, we called it. And Mr. Trolley made people really care about the characters, like Flippy Seal, who left his North Pole home to join a circus and was a failure because he couldn't do any of the things that seals usually do, like bouncing a ball on his nose or playing horns. And then he found a job that was just right for his special talents. He successfully pleaded for the chance to become the world's first singing seal.
Well, you all know the rest of the story. You know how almost overnight Johann Sebastian Seal became a sensation. You've probably seen him on television, and I'm sure that you've heard his records, especially the one called the North Pole Polka. And they say that one night, Mr. Sullivan himself had a Flippy the Seal night. And there he was, right there in the spotlight. And they say that far, far away at the North Pole, the other seals all sat watching their television sets. And they nodded to one another and said,
We always knew he'd make good. That's our Flippy.
And then they all stood up and sang their national anthem. The song that sounds very much like the North Pole Polka.
Well, that story, Gene, shares your mother's philosophy. She always said that everyone has a talent. Right?
She did. She said something else, too, Ron. She said everybody has to work to develop that talent. But she said that dreams really do come true.
Well, I believe that as well. And I'm going to share one of the highlights of my television career after you solve the next trivia question. Gene, I was noticing 6,200 performances. That has to be some sort of record, right?
I think it is.
But I guess probably back in 1955, you weren't looking that far down the road, were you?
No, we might have been a little frightened. But yet we knew we had done all the right things. We started with a pilot program. We had experts to help us. And then Dr. Larry Myers from Syracuse University School of Communications, who was one of the best-known researchers in the country, tabulated all the information. And we went from there. And we were very lucky, Ron, that we had the talented cast members right here in the station. Just think about that combination. Every time I watch a scene from Magic Toy Shop, I marvel again at our good fortune that we didn't need to look beyond this station. Merrily, Marilyn Hubbard HERR, was a graduate of the American Academy in New York, had toured with Claire Tree Major's Children's Theater. She earned a degree in drama from Syracuse University. Eddie Flumnum, Socrates Sampson, was also an SU graduate in fine arts. Without batting an eye, he could create anything, including a flying car.
Oh, chitty, you, chitty, pretty, chitty, bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang, we love you. And chitty, in chitty, pretty, chitty, bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang, what we'll do. Near chitty, power, chitty, in a motor car, oh, what a happy time we'll spend. Bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang, our fine four-fender friend. Bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang, our fine four-fender friend.
Chitty, bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang.
Fine four-fender, chitty, chitty, bang.
Mr. Trolley, Ph.D., or Dr. Trolley. We never knew which one to call him because Lou O'Donnell had earned his doctorate at Syracuse University. Twinkle, Tony Riposo, one of the finest musicians in the whole country, another Syracuse graduate, he felt it important to share his skill with children. All of the cast members in the same place at the right time. Marilyn thinks it must have been divine providence, and I agree.
And what about the Play Lady?
Well, the Play Lady was not part of the original cast, Ron.
Oh, I see.
No, the Play Lady came in onto the scene, as it were, when Merrily became pregnant.
Ah.
And we had to decide what we were going to do about a replacement.
Right. Well, how did you handle that? 40 years ago or so, pregnancy was something you didn't really talk about that
no,
much.
we didn't talk about it, but we found ways to do this.
Okay.
Now, I want you to look at this scene, Ron.
All right.
And I want you to notice what the men are wearing. Eddie Flumnum and Twinkle are both in smocks. Now, very early in Merrily's pregnancy, we got smocks for everybody. His and her maternity smocks. Merrily would wear hers one day, and then she wouldn't have to wear it. And then we had to decide, we knew she'd be taking, we didn't have a name for it then, a maternity leave, and we knew that people, children especially, could resent the person who came to replace her or resent Merrily for leaving. So our experts got together and decided if the children saw Merrily as a mother, then the Play Lady was a grandmother figure. And you don't have to choose between a mother and a grandmother. The Play Lady did all the things that grandparents do. She took them on trips. She brought them gifts. She shared stories, spoiled them a bit. Merrily worked up to the day before Corky, officially CORLISS Alexandra, was born. And in a way, that baby belonged to the whole cast.
Everybody welcomed Corky and her children to the party. Benjamin, Adam, and Nicole. And they couldn't believe that Nicole is a freshman at Nottingham, the same school her mother and Uncle Chucky attended. Then we talked to Corky about her memories.
I remember practicing in my room when nobody else would see me, that I could take her place. I remember a lot of good feelings. I remember Breakfast with Santa is probably my greatest memory, and going to Edwards. And he was the real Santa. No matter who else I saw, he was the real Santa.
Merrily's second child is Charles Haskell, Chucky, and he's part of Time of Wonder, Time of Joy, the child whose picture is featured on Let's Keep Christmas. I'm his godmother and wonder where the time went. He's grown up now, living with his family in Buffalo. When his children join their cousins at their grandmother's, they have a chance to watch old toy shop tapes. And like Adam, they all know the magic key.
Oh, that's good. Now that's an authentic Magic Toy Shop smile.
Well, the Play Lady became a substitute for Merrily. And I certainly know that you had a substitute for Mr. Trolley.
Yes, we did. We had his wife, Mignonette Trolley, and then we had Texas Trolley, too.
Well, I wasn't referring to either of those.
I know.
I was referring to something else.
Your great moment.
And my great moment in television, yes. There was one Saturday morning, and I was very new at the station at the time. This is, back in 1960, I guess. I was told that Lou O'Donnell, Mr. Trolley, couldn't make the show, and I was to be it. And I said, I have no idea what to do. And they said, just put on Mr. Trolley's head, shake your head from side to side, the nose lights up and so on. So I had to go at it. They said, whatever you do, don't say a word. Just don't talk. And I didn't. But I still don't know why I had to do that.
I know why. Because this Saturday version was Toy Shop Jamboree, and Lou O'Donnell played two parts.
Oh,
he was Lou O'Donnell, Mr. O'Donnell, and he was Mr. Trolley, and we didn't want them to know that he wasn't. We were in those live days, and he sure didn't want to give up being a song and dance man.
Oh, I can understand that. Well, it was a great moment.
On the ginger, peachy, cracker jack, could hardly wait till it came back. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the big state fair.
The Toy Shop Jamboree did something else for us. It gave us a chance to bring children into the studio. We purposefully didn't do that on the Magic Toy Shop itself because we wanted to concentrate on the child at home. And then that led to personal appearances from the State Fair to Suburban Park, department stores, and church basements. Listen, no matter what the denomination, they all had one thing in common. The pianos were out of tune. But the audience really got into the act, and it was at these moments that we felt the impact we were having on children.
I'll never forget one of the first personal appearances we went to. This little girl came to me with these big eyes, and she said, Merrily, can you come home with me? I have a big trunk full of toys. And I think then I realized how very, very important it was to her, and it was to Sue.
And I understand, too, that you really never got tired of those personal appearances, no matter how many you had to do.
We didn't, even when we were doing 4 or 5 a day at holiday time. But I tell you, Rod, we never got tired of any of it.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the real magic of the Magic Toy Shop. Well, the party at the Persian Terrace had many magic moments, but never before had we seen Twinkle with not 1, not 2, but 3 magic pianos.
The talented Tony Riposo composed the Magic Toy Shop theme. He was also in demand as a conductor and accompanist. When he was away, we all said, Hocus Pocus, Dominocus, Abracadabra, and there you are. And the piano played by magic. Actually, of course, some of the area's most talented musicians played from a corner of the studio. Leighton Sox Tiefel was one of the MPs, magic pianos. I've been told that at Fayetteville Manlius High School, he called his chorus together by playing this theme. Mario DeSantis became our #1 magic piano that very first year. For Mr. Joey, Joe Carfagno, this party was special because his daughter was sharing memories with her daughter. It really was a family reunion. Tony's fellow musicians appreciated the demands of the role. We all took Magic Toy Shop seriously. Twinkle never blew his cover, not even at personal appearances.
Strangely enough, every time we would do a personal appearance and one of my golfing buddies would come up and they'd say, hey, Ripper, hey, listen, what time are you playing golf next week? You know, I go. And the kid would say, Daddy, Twinkles can't talk. And they would get the message across, you know.
Twinkle didn't talk except in music, but at the party, Tony talked. The Riposo family listened to the memories. Tony Jr., Amy, Laura, one of the Riposo triplets with her children. There are 4 more in the family, and I'm sure they'll get copies of the tape. Tony Jr. played a role in his father's favorite story.
But I think one of the greatest story with Tony Jr., it was maybe 3 at the time or maybe 4 at the most. We did a personal appearance at Suburban Park, and I took Tony with me. We went into this little hut, and I'm changing it to Twinkles, and he's saying, Daddy this and Daddy that. And then all of a sudden, I had my whole face on, and he stopped, he looked at me, he said, Hi, Twinkles. Now we left, I went on stage, did the show. Got through, went back in the hut, took the makeup off, took him by the hand, we went outside, closed the door. He took about 5 steps and stopped. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "We forgot to say goodbye to Twinkles."
Ron Curtis discovered that Mario DeSantis has never said goodbye to Twinkle.
He's the legendary Twinkle. In fact, to this day, I have to say that when I talk to Tony, I never call him Tony. I always call, "Hey, Twinkle." If it's his answering machine, I leave messages for Twinkle. So he calls me back, and likewise, I'm Mario Magic, and so those are the memories we have. But, he was a pretty wise fella, and when he would go away on the clown convention, he'd leave a little tape on middle C in case I forgot where it was.
The bonds are strong, and the program still has an influence.
Do people still relate to you as Twinkle?
When I came back from Las Vegas after living there for 18 years and doing all these big things there, conducting for all the stars, I came back and went to get credit at Penny's. And they said, "You have any identification?" They says, "Well, you haven't lived here long enough." And one girl recognized me. She said, "You're Twinkles." And I got instant credit.
You see what the Magic Toy Shop did for you?
Tony RIPOSO finally said farewell and moved to Las Vegas. Then Mario became Maestro, Twinkle's cousins, one of 2 new cast members.
Mr. Edward Bear, better known as Winnie the Pooh, and a delightful tiger called Tigger.
The other, Eleanor Russell. She became a regular guest star named Ellie. We'd met her when she was 15, one of the founders of the Soul Generation, the amazingly talented group of Syracuse high school students dedicated to bringing understanding and enriching lives. She was a student at Syracuse University when she finally realized a childhood dream.
I can remember I was allowed to leave the breakfast table and sit by my father's feet in his little special room he had, and he and I would watch the show together. And I can remember, just as if it were yesterday, telling him, "Daddy, I'm going to be on that show."
That was a dream of yours, wasn't it?
It was a dream of mine. And he said, "Oh, I'll take you up. They're very nice people. I'll take you up to see the show." I said, "No, I want to be on the show."
We all took pride in Ellie's performance. She'd grown up with us, and now she was reaching out to all children everywhere.
We weren't strangers to the children. We were friends, and we were advocates that they could reach out to and go to the station and see. And there was a simple kind of charm. Children do think differently than adults. And the Magic Toy Shop captured the way all children think.
Eleanor Russell realized a dream. She'd always wanted to be part of Magic Toy Shop, wanted a chance to tell children how special they are. She always managed to say a little hello to her friends like Sheila and Gail and help keep the magic going. We'll try to explain that magic in a moment.
All right?
Pony boy, won't you be my pony boy?
The Magic Toy Shop. Part of the magic was the fact that we never got tired of doing it. That couldn't have happened without a crew that treated this program for children with respect and, yes, with love. Gene Ragus explained that dedication to Ron Curtis.
No, we took it seriously because it was a good show. They were all involved. We were all involved. It was, to say an industry now, it's a team. It's teamwork, and it really was teamwork. And we had a lot of fun. It was a bunch of people working together to make the thing work.
Gene's wife, Sherry, remembered that the Ragus children were proud to share some of their most magic moments, like getting the Christmas tree. And Gene Dollard recalled that everybody at the station got into the act. We pulled her out of an office to share ski lessons as Auntie Jean. The toy shop always involved participation. The Hokey Pokey symbolized that. This was a 3-generation Hokey Pokey. We were remembering how many hundreds of times we'd shared that at personal appearances. We traveled to Auburn, for instance, at the invitation of our costume designer, Sue Ryford, founder of Auburn Children's Theater. The Mason family was an important part of the reunion. They'd been with the program since the beginning. Oriole did everything from typing scripts to serving ice cream and cake to youngsters who were part of Toy Shop Jamboree. Her young sons often came to work with her, and frequently they were in our commercials,
Craig and his brother Andy were at home in front of the camera, and no toy shop fans were ever more enthusiastic. It was like turning back the clock and seeing Andy at 4 when we watched Kyle in action. Andy's wife Susan thinks that her son is really a clone of her husband. It was a time to share the talents of the younger generation. We checked the artwork of Eddie Flumnum Sock Sampson's grandchildren. Jim's children, Jamie and JR, have definitely inherited their grandfather's talent. Their mother, Jannie, and their grandmother, CARM, hope they inherit his special spirit.
He's just good-hearted. He loves his grandchildren. They love him. He plays with them, just like he did on TV. I think I'll keep him.
His fans want to keep him too, CARM, in their hearts. Heather Harvey Lane has been doing that since she was 4. We caught her again at 14 and at the reunion where she relived her childhood, as she did at the Festival of Nations when she explained her magic world to son John Henry. Craig Mason and his daughter Lauren share the same philosophy as Heather. In one way, Craig is responsible for this program. When the Onondaga Historical Museum hosted a toy shop exhibit 4 years ago, he talked to us about his memories. What would you like to share with your daughter?
I think I would like to share the closeness of the Magic Toy Shop, the feeling of family that we used to get. It was a very, very nice time and a close time. Everybody cared about everybody else.
Other visitors said the same thing as Craig. We want to share our childhood with our children, and that's exactly what we're doing. It was appropriate that the exhibit was planned by CHERYL Wilkins Mitchell, Education Director of the museum. Appropriate because when she was a very young teenager and had won a scholarship to a ballet school in Saratoga, she was featured on the Abracadabra book. That story impressed her children, Aisha and Masai, and so did the exhibit. Hundreds of others agreed. CHERYL was asked why.
Why? Because the toy shop touched so many lives. It's just incredible. You're finding people that say, oh, I grew up with Magic Toy Shop, and they would come in and they would bring their children. And these children are now also were able, during the exhibit, to enjoy what we experienced. And they loved it. They loved it.
The Abracadabra book was part of that exhibit. It was a gift from Toyland that allowed us to take trips to all kinds of places. The Play Lady was often the escort, and it was always a pleasure to welcome young friends like the Alderman sisters. We considered them part of our station family because they were the young cousins of our program director, Gordon Alderman. They took us to many places, like Morey's Cider Mill, to visit their uncles, and that's when the viewers first met Martha, Laura, Paula, and Lisa. At the party, they relived those times with Martha's children. At least Martha and Laura relived them.
Because you don't remember.
I don't remember. I'm just sitting here nodding.
Well, Lisa may have been too young to remember. She was only 2 and not much older when they made their debut in our Christmas show.
Silver bells, silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city.
Silver Bells was an all-time favorite. Each year, one of them was missing front teeth, and the slight lisp of Merry Christmas was beautiful.
I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know.
They were a part of our holiday, and that's why when Paula and her English-born husband Glenn were on Flight 103, it was a personal loss for the Magic Toy Shop family. Every time the newscaster mentions a Town of Clay couple, we remember the Sunshine Girl, Paula. It's important for a family to remember, important to hold tight to each other, important to share love and memories, to never, never forget. And we haven't.
My sister Paula always had her teddy bear with her. And Eddie Flumnum used to say, you know, I loaded different children, named different names out in television land. And I remember one time he said, I see Paula with her teddy bear. And of course, we were amazed. We thought he could really see us.
Paula, a little girl who thought Eddie Flumnum could look right through the television set. The thought made us smile. In one sense, the most important person at the reunion was Gordon Alderman. He was the one who brought us together. He was the man with the vision. We consider Magic Toy Shop his memorial. It's been 28 years since his sudden death.
and yet he's still part of our lives. At the party, we relived the past, and we laughed. He left us with a legacy of joy, and that may be the most important magic of the Magic Toy Shop.
The Magic Toy Shop Family Reunion. Now, that's the proper name for this visit, and there was a definite feel of family at the Persian Terrace. They were really glad to see each other. And everyone wanted to know what it was like to interview Eddie Flumnum and Mr. Trolley. Now, I'll admit this. I wasn't prepared for the answer I got when I asked their favorite song.
Way out west on a beautiful farm, I heard the funniest thing.
The owl and the duck would meet every night, and they'd sing and sing and sing. Hoot, quack, quack, hoot, quack, quack, hoot, quack, quack, hoot. That's the song of the owl and the duck. They meet every night in the pale moonlight. They both love music and find great delight with a hoot, quack, quack, hoot, quack, quack, hoot, quack, quack, hoot, quack, quack. Farmers say it means good luck, but they shiver and shake 'cause it keeps them awake. The song of the owl and the duck. Quack, 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 or something.
But you know, I could hardly believe it. I was listening to Socrates Sampson and Blue O'Donnell, and yet I was seeing Eddie Flumnum and Mr. Trolley. Actually, I think that reaction really pleased them.
Oh, what fun, me and you, walking through the zoo. Look, Mr. Trolley, do you see? There's a horse in striped pajamas.
No, that's not what it is at all. That's an animal people call a zebra.
I see, but it still looks like a horse in striped pajamas to me.
I think the thing that I would like people to remember is the fact that children have a great deal of creativity and imagination, and they need to use it. And from what I see on children's television today, there isn't much of that left.
And you participated,
right.
That's all that was necessary. Nobody was ever left out because they didn't have wherewithal to participate and to join in our play. All they had to do was be there, and they were part of us.
You have just heard from experts about two basic principles of the Magic Toy Shop. One, imagination played an important part. Two, children didn't just watch, they participated. For instance, if they weren't able to be tightrope walkers, they could clap hands and cheer. Everyone was important. From those earliest days of black and white television on WHEN-TV Channel 8, we were interested not only in the child, but also in the adults they would become. That's why we asked those adults to look back.
I think the positiveness of the whole toy shop experience, the fun and the play and the song and it's a positiveness. That's the only way I can describe it. That I don't know if things were different when we were growing up, but I think the kids today could use a good dose of that positive experience.
The mystique. We didn't see Twinkle or we didn't see Trolley without, their costumes, so that it was always magic when you asked that question, because there was always the unknown as to how this all happened, and it was the magic of television, and it really was magic.
We worked hard to preserve the magic for the children who turned on a smile and joined in the fun, because it was fun. But from the beginning, all of us knew that there was a more important element. Merrily put it into words for us.
It was a wonderful, wonderful feeling, that relationship. And I think that's what I want them to come away with, that they've had somebody, that they've been close to somebody, that they could share something with somebody.
We don't know where they are, those children who shared our lives, but we hope you remember that you were loved. And indeed, you still are.
Well, Gene, you wrote 6,200 episodes. How should we end this one?
I think we should end it the way we did when we closed the door for the very last time.
It was not easy that day. We told the children we would be packing up the toys, but would carry the love with us. We relived favorite moments. We saluted the hundreds of youngsters from the Festival of Nations by sharing the Boomsy Daisy Polka just one more time. Not surprisingly, the playlady thanked the teddy bears. The song we chose for that day was a lullaby. There is something warm and comforting in a lullaby. Merrily rocked a real toy, Eddie Flumnum a pretend one, and I remembered that I'd learned that song from my mother, who learned it from her mother, who learned it from her mother. And we were hoping that years after the door closed, that young parents would be singing Magic Toy Shop songs to their children.
Bye, oh, my baby. Bye, oh, my baby. Bye, oh, my baby. Bye, my baby, bye.
Finally, we said our goodbyes.
That's why I'm going to say Auf Wiedersehen instead of goodbye. That means till we meet again.
And I think I'll add a Hebrew word, shalom. And that means God be with you. You'll always be a part of our memories, boys and girls. And we hope that you'll remember that. And that you'll remember not just the songs and the games and the stories that we shared, but you'll remember that you are forever friends.
Well, Gene, you really are forever friends.
That's what we like to think, Ron, and I know something else, too, that a smile really is the magic key to the magic door to the wonderful magic toy shop.